At exactly the moment the bar left the ground, the room went silent. No roar, no music, just breath, chalk dust, and steel under impossible pressure. 501 kilograms. That number shouldn't exist in human hands. And yet, for a few seconds, it did. But here's the question almost nobody asks. Was this lift inevitable? Or should it never have happened at all? Because depending on who you listen to, that moment was either the greatest feat of strength in history or the most controversial lift the sport has ever seen. Today's story is not just about a man lifting the impossible. It's about how close the human body can go to breaking, why experts still argue over whether this record should count, and what really happens when someone decides to push past limits the world quietly agreed not to cross. If you think this is just another strongman story, stay with me, because the deeper you go, the more uncomfortable the questions become. Who was Hafthor Bjornsson before the world knew him as the Mountain? Why did he become obsessed with a number no one had ever officially lifted? And most importantly, what did it cost him to prove it could be done? At first glance, the story seems simple. A giant from Iceland, years of training, a barbell, a world record, but that version leaves out the pressure, the injuries, the critics who said the lift was staged, the legends who claimed it didn't count, and the moment when Bjornsson himself admitted that chasing 501 kilograms might destroy his body forever. So here's the mystery at the heart of this video. Was Hafthor chasing history or running from something else? As we go deeper, three major questions will guide this story. First, how did Hafthor Bjornsson evolve from a failed basketball player into one of the strongest humans ever recorded? The origin matters more than people realize, because it shaped the way he approached pain, discipline, and obsession. Second, why did the number 501 kilograms matter so much? Not 500, not a world record, but a single extra kilogram, enough to divide the strongman world and ignite one of the biggest controversies in modern strength sports. And third, and this is the most unsettling part, did lifting the impossible actually end something greater than it began? Because history often celebrates the moment of triumph, but ignores the consequences that follow. So before we begin, I want you to think about this. If the human body was never meant to lift 501 kilograms, what kind of person tries anyway? And what happens after they succeed? That's the story we're about to tell. Let's begin. Before Hafthor Bjornsson ever touched a 501 kilogram barbell, he was chasing a completely different dream and failing at it. Most people don't know this, but Hafthor didn't grow up thinking he'd become the strongest man on earth. His first obsession was basketball. He played professionally in Iceland, trained hard, and believed size would finally work for him instead of against him. At 6'9", the future seemed obvious, until it collapsed. A severe ankle injury ended his basketball career early. Not slowly, not gracefully. Suddenly. One moment he was an athlete with a plan, the next he was a towering body with nowhere to go. And that moment, more than any victory later on, became a turning point. So here's the first real question. What happens when someone built for greatness loses their direction? For Hafthor, that answer came by accident. A former strongman champion saw him, sized him up, and gave him a simple suggestion: you should try lifting. No prophecy, no destiny speech, just a casual remark that rewired his future. And when Hafthor entered his first strongman competition, something strange happened. He didn't just perform well, he dominated. Raw strength poured out of him in ways even he didn't fully understand yet. The weights moved, the events blurred together, and for the first time since basketball ended, the noise in his head went quiet. But success came with a cost. Strongman wasn't just about lifting heavy, it was about pain tolerance, about training through injuries that would sideline ordinary athletes permanently. Torn feet, pulled muscles, chronic back stress. Hafthor didn't avoid these, he absorbed them. And still, he kept showing up. By the time the world noticed him on Game of Thrones as Gregor, the Mountain Clegane, Hafthor's real life was already heavier than his TV character. Acting paid the bills and brought fame, but strongman was where his identity lived. And this raises another important question. Was Hafthor becoming famous for his strength, or was he hiding behind it? As competitions escalated, so did expectations. Podiums became routine. Second place stopped feeling like success. The strongest men on Earth weren't just competitors anymore, they were psychological benchmarks. Every record broken by someone else became a personal challenge waiting to be answered. And slowly, almost invisibly, Hafthor's mindset shifted. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about numbers, about limits, about proving something no one had ever officially proven before. So when the deadlift world record crept higher and higher, and finally stopped at 500 kilograms, Hafthor didn't see a ceiling. He saw an invitation. And that's where this story starts to become dangerous. In the next part, we'll explore how 1 extra kilogram became a line the strongman world wasn't ready to cross, and why Hafthor crossed it anyway. By the time the deadlift world record reached 500 kilograms, the strongman world believed the question had been answered. That number belonged to Eddie Hall. It was loud, violent, public, and unforgettable. The kind of lift that looked like it had taken something irreversible from the man who performed it. Hall himself later admitted it nearly killed him. So when Hafthor Bjornsson announced he was going for 501 kilograms, it didn't feel like progress, it felt like provocation. And this is where the story stops being just about strength. Because logically, 1 kilogram shouldn't matter. It's the weight of a bottle of water. But in elite strength sports, 1 kilogram is the difference between history and impossibility. So ask yourself this. If 500 kilograms already pushed the human body to its breaking point, what kind of risk does 501 represent? For Hafthor, that single kilogram became symbolic, not just of beating a record, but of ending a debate that had followed him for years. Multiple second-place finishes, endless, almost, moments. A reputation as the strongest man who somehow didn't always win when it mattered most. To Hafthor, 501 wasn't about Eddie Hall. It was about silence. Training footage from this period tells a quiet story. No hype, no flashy edits. Just repetition, isolation, and tension. Deadlifts in near total focus. Coaches watching every micro movement. Medical teams constantly assessing damage before it happened. And behind the scenes, the criticism was getting louder. Fans questioned the conditions. Other athletes questioned the format. Blogs and podcasts debated whether a lift done outside a competition environment should count at all. The word asterisk started floating around before the lift had even happened. So here's the uncomfortable question. Does history care how a record is set, or only that it exists? The pressure split the strongman community in two. On one side, those who believed progress required evolution. On the other, those who felt the line between legitimacy and spectacle was being crossed. And Hafthor heard it all. Yet instead of backing away, he leaned in. He trained heavier. He narrowed his focus. He adjusted equipment, recovery, and technique to maximize survival as much as performance. Because at 501 kilograms, success wasn't the only concern walking away was. So when Hafthor finally stepped up to the bar, this wasn't a man chasing a number. It was a man standing in the middle of a war between tradition and progress. Was 501 kilograms a triumph, or the beginning of a controversy strongmen may never escape? When Hafthor Bjornsson approached the bar on that day, there was no crowd noise pushing him forward. No arena energy, no shared adrenaline. Just him and the weight. 501 kilograms sat on the floor, looking almost unreal. Steel plates stacked so thick, they bent expectation before they bent metal. Hafthor didn't pace. He didn't shout. He stood still, breathing slowly, as if the world beyond the bar had already disappeared. And that silence mattered, because this wasn't a spectacle lift meant to entertain. It was a controlled experiment at the edge of human capacity. One mistake here wouldn't mean failure. It could mean permanent damage. Now ask yourself, how do you convince your body to do something it has never done before and survive it? The pull began slowly, too slowly for comfort. The bar flexed before it moved. Hafthor's face changed not into rage, but into something tighter, quieter. Seconds stretched. You could feel the tension even through a screen. Then the bar rose. Knees locked. Hips came through. And suddenly, unmistakably, it was over. 501 kilograms. No collapse. No immediate celebration. Just a man, standing with history in his hands. As if even he needed a moment to believe it was real. But what happened next is where the story gets complicated. Within hours, the internet lit up. Some called it the greatest feat of strength ever performed. Others dismissed it entirely. Words like unofficial, home gym, and doesn't count flooded comment sections, podcasts, and sports blogs. So here's the real question. If a human lifts something no one has lifted before, but people refuse to accept it, did it still change what's possible? Hafthor, for his part, didn't argue much. In interviews, he sounded calm, almost relieved. He had done what he set out to do. The number existed now. The line had been crossed. But the cost was real. Soon after, Hafthor stepped away from competitive strongman. His body needed time it might never fully recover from. The obsession had reached its peak, and once that mountain was climbed, there was nowhere higher to go. And maybe that's the final twist of this story. The impossible was lifted, but it didn't bring closure. It brought questions. Questions about limits, legitimacy, and how far humans should push themselves just to prove they can. So now I'll ask you, was 501 kilograms the future of strength, or a warning sign? If this story made you think, like the video, share your opinion in the comments, and subscribe, because stories like this aren't just about records, they're about what we sacrifice to break them. And if you want more deep, cinematic stories about human limits, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next.